Hello, I'm Jess, and today we're going to make the first project in my book, A Field Guide to Making Bags. This will be a 5-part video series that will highlight all of the projects in my book, plus essential bag making techniques for all levels of sewists. Welcome to the Sallie Tomato YouTube channel. If you're new to sewing or like sewing stylish, beginner-friendly projects, be sure to hit that notification button and subscribe so that way you stay up to date when a new tutorial drops. The stylish quilted pouches pattern that we'll be making today is a great place for beginners to start. This project is a modern take on a classic quilted zipper pouch using soft faux leather or natural cork fabric and minimalist quilting for additional texture. With this project, you will build skills in fabric preparation, zipper installation, bag assembly, and the use of optional embellishments. This bag can be used as a clutch or as a great way to keep yourself organized. And with the additional tassel, it is a truly classic style. There are 3 sizes included within this project. The finished sizes include the small, which measures 5.5 inches wide and 4 inches tall. The medium is 8 inches wide and 6 inches tall. And the large is 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. Before we get started, be sure to purchase a copy of my book, A Field Guide to Making Bags. You can find the book on our website or at your local fabric shop. Check the description below for a direct link. All of the supplies that you need are listed in the book. When selecting fabrics, keep in mind that the quilted pouch project is designed for non-woven fabrics such as faux leather, cork, faux fur, or micro suede. The first step to getting started is selecting the fabrics that you'd like to use for this project, so be sure to refer to that materials and supply list included in the book. Once you have your fabrics picked out, you'll want to cut them out according to the cutting instructions included in the book for the size pouch that you'd like to make. You'll need a rotary cutter, a ruler, and a cutting mat. Then, once all of your pieces are cut out, we're ready to begin sewing. If you'd like to sew along with me, you can pause the video as the video progresses so that way I can guide you through the project step by step. I am so excited that you're here for this journey, so let's begin the tutorial. Today I'll be making the large size pouch out of cork fabric. This particular print is called Diamonds in the Rough, designed by Colleen Annalee for Sallie Tomato. I love this design because it reminds me of quilt blocks. Plus, when I go to add some quilting details, I can follow along with the print. So all of my quilt lines are already marked for me. Unless, of course, I wanted to create another design or more detailed accents. The main fabric will be used for the exterior of the pouch. Also, it will be used for the zipper tabs and the optional tassel. For my lining fabric, I'm using Sallie Tomato Turtle Tex. This is a coated cotton that's water resistant and very durable for bag making. I love it because the water resistant coating acts as an interfacing, so it saves some time from having to fuse interfacing to the fabric. Plus, it comes in a few neutral colors, so it pairs well with several exterior fabrics. I always recommend choosing a lighter color for your lining, so that way when you're looking inside your bag, it's brighter than a darker fabric would be, so it's easier to see the items inside. You'll also need some fleece batting. The batting will keep the pouch flexible while adding a little bit more stability to the exterior fabric. Plus, batting is a nice mid-weight option to help add structure without adding much bulk. You'll also need a single slide zipper that has a nylon coil and cut to whatever length that's needed for the size pouch that you're making. For my project, I'm using Sallie Tomato zippers by the yard. These zippers have a nylon coil with a metallic finish, so they appear to be metal, but they're not. There are a variety of zipper pull options available to use with these zippers. We currently offer a variety of metal finishes, including nickel, gold, rose gold, antique, gunmetal, and our exclusive color designed in collaboration with Tulip Pink. The zipper tapes come in a variety of colors as well, so you can coordinate with your fabrics. You may want to select a donut style zipper pull or a circle zipper pull or any pull that has an opening if you'd like to attach the optional tassel. If you'd like to add a metal handmade label, there are a variety of fonts available through Sallie Tomato and metal finishes to coordinate with your zipper. Now that we've reviewed our materials and supplies, let's get into the tutorial and start by preparing our main fabric panels. Begin by positioning the pieces of fleece on the wrong side of the main fabric front and back panels, aligning the sides and the bottom edge. Since we're using a non-woven fabric, you'll want to use sewing clips instead of pins, which will leave a permanent hole in your material. If you prefer to use a temporary basting spray to help hold your fleece in place, you certainly can. You'll notice that the fleece is 1/2 inch shorter to help reduce bulk at the top where the zipper will be attached later on. Once your fleece is secured to each of your main fabric panels, head over to the machine and baste 1/8 inch from the side and bottom edges of the fleece. Whenever you baste fabrics together, you'll want to use a longer stitch length, such as 4 millimeters or 5 millimeters long. I have a very narrow foot attached to my machine and it sews beautifully over the cork fabric. However, if you're using faux leather, you may want to use a Teflon foot to help prevent your foot from sticking to your fabric. Next, if you'd like to add any quilting to the front and back panels, feel free to do so as desired. This will help further secure the fleece and add detail. For any quilting, I recommend using a 3 millimeter stitch length. Since this is a small project, I encourage you to experiment with unique quilting designs. After adding any quilting, now is the time to add the optional handmade label if you'd like. You can position it as desired on either your main fabric or even your lining fabric. However, in the book, I recommend measuring down 1 inch from the top edge of the front and marking the center. Then follow along with the manufacturer's instructions for installing the handmade label. We've added a link to the video tutorial for Sallie Tomato handmade labels if you'd like to follow along. After installing any hardware, we always recommend either gluing or fusing a scrap of interfacing over the wrong side of the hardware to protect your lining fabric from abrasion. Next, we'll attach the tabs to the zipper. You can follow along with the instructions in the book to attach the tabs to the zipper. Otherwise, I'm going to show you an alternative method that is a little bit more beginner friendly. With the wrong sides together, start by measuring 1/2 inch in from one of the long edges and mark the center on the wrong side. Then, with wrong sides together, align the raw ends of the zipper tape along each of the marked lines. Over at the sewing machine, baste each of the zipper ends in place 1/8 inch from the raw end. Then, fold each of the zipper tabs to cover the raw end and top stitch 1/8 inch from the raw edges. Now we're ready to assemble the pouch. Grab a large spool of thread or a small lid and place it at each of the bottom corners of the main fabric and lining front and back panels. You can use any pen or chalk to trace around the spool. You'll want to make sure that the spool is aligned with the side and bottom edge for even round corners on each panel. Then take your scissors and cut on each of the marked lines to round each corner. Next, with right sides together, center the zipper along the top edge of the main fabric front panel. Add sewing clips to hold the zipper in place. You'll want to sew the zipper in place with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. As you sew, make sure the zipper pull is out of the way. You can always stop with your needle down and lift the presser foot to slide the zipper pull out of the way as you sew. I recommend using a zipper foot or narrow foot to attach the zipper. Next, with right sides together, layer the lining front panel over the main fabric front panel and the zipper, aligning all of the edges. Sew the pieces together along the top edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Again, make sure to move the zipper pull out of the way as needed. Next, finger press the seam open, or you can use a seam roller. Then, making sure that the seam stays flat, you'll want to top stitch an 1/8 inch from each side of the seam, moving the zipper out of the way. Once your top stitching is complete, we'll repeat the same process to attach your back panels to the opposite side of the zipper. With right sides together, center and baste the zipper along the top edge of the main fabric back panel. Layer the lining back panel right sides together with the lining front panel and zipper, aligning the top and side edges. Sew the pieces together along the top edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Press the seam open with your finger or a seam roller and top stitch an 1/8 inch from each side of the seam, making sure to move the zipper out of the way. After sewing, unzip the zipper halfway to prepare for turning later. Then, with right sides together, align all the edges of both main fabric panels. And the same for both lining fabric panels. Use lots of sewing clips to hold the layers together. Make sure your machine is set for a 2.5 millimeter stitch length for piecing, and start by sewing the lining panels together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, making sure to leave about 3 to 4 inches unsewn along the bottom edge. I like to backstitch at each end of the turning opening for reinforcement. We used a wider seam allowance for the lining to help the lining fit neatly inside your bag. Then sew the main panels together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm using a narrow foot to help maintain the seam allowance and sew past the tabs. If you don't have a narrow foot, a zipper foot works as well. You'll want to make sure that you sew through the zipper seam, but do not sew through the tabs. After sewing, trim the lining seam allowance to a 1/4 inch wide. And turn the bag right side out by pushing the main fabric and lining through the open section of the lining bottom. You'll want to gently push out the corners and edges to shape the bag. I'm using a Sallie Tomato essential turning and creasing tool to help smooth out the corners. And lastly, you'll want to either hand sew or top stitch the opening in the lining closed, making sure those raw edges are tucked inside and the folded edge is even. Then you can smooth the lining down into the exterior. One tip to help shape the edges of your pouch is to roll each of the sides and the bottom edge and use sewing clips to compress the side seams and the bottom seam. Leave the clips on for a few hours, and this will help flatten the seam to shape the bag. And finally, let's review how to make and attach the optional tassel. I decided to swap out my tassel piece that was cut from my main fabric for a contrasting cork fabric. On the wrong side of the tassel piece, mark a horizontal line 3/8 inch from the top short edge. Then use a rotary cutter and ruler or scissors to cut the fringe, starting at the bottom edge and stopping at the marked line. You can cut every 1/4 inch, or for more delicate fringe, cut every 1/8 inch. Next, apply hot glue or fabric glue to the right side of one end of the tassel connector. With the wrong sides up, position the connector vertically, aligning the left side edges and the short edge along the marked line. Thread the connector through the hole in the zipper pull and fold the connector in half with wrong sides together, matching the short ends, and glue in place. Lastly, apply glue to the wrong side of the tassel above the marked line and tightly wrap the tassel around the connector. And that's it, your pouch is complete and ready to use. Thank you so much for watching this project. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make the quilted pouches. And if you have any other questions, just let us know in the comments and we'll be there to help. We'd love to see your finished project. Please share and show off your photos using the hashtag SallieTomato on social media so we can see it. And if you liked this project, make sure to join us for the rest of the projects in the Field Guide to Making Bags series. As the projects progress, we will be learning more skills and applying the knowledge that you already learned from this pouch project to future projects in the book. By sticking with this series, you will continue to grow your bag making skills, and we hope to empower you to create with confidence. We hope you'll give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of the future videos we have planned. Thank you so much for watching, and definitely check out the rest of our pattern line for more creative projects. I'll see you next time.